I just want to take a minute to admire these butterflies. I honestly love butterflies, and I'm even working on a painting of them right now. But you know what I hate about butterflies? When they're in your stomach. This is honestly the worst feeling in my opinion, but I get them every time I'm about to present, and you most likely do too. And since we're all going to be presenting today, this will be a fun topic to explore a little more. But why do we get these feelings before presenting? It's not like anything bad's going to happen. Here's a cute little frequency diagram I found on the internet. It shows the number of Google results that pop up for the search "died in a blank accident." So here you can see that there are 710 search results that come up for the search "died in a skydiving accident." And you can also see that there are 0 results that come up for the search "died in a presenting accident." And so if there's no evidence to show any real life or death danger that comes about from presenting, why do we get so anxious to present? Well, to answer this, we need to realize that we're actually categorizing this neutral stimuli of presenting as threatening, right? When you were a kid, you probably didn't feel as anxious to present as you do now. Now it kind of feels like there's something on the line. And what's on the line is our social status. We don't want to be seen as dumb or incompetent for giving a bad presentation and have this lead to social exclusion. So let's get into this a little deeper. How does our knowledge of categorization help us to understand this social anxiety? Well, first, the way we categorize our surroundings guides our behaviors. So let's go through an example of this. Here we have a regular lecture hall, a tutorial-like setting, and something we're all familiar with now, an online learning environment. Now, each of these situations looks seemingly different. None of them are exactly the same, but in our minds, we're categorizing these dissimilar situations all as the same group. They're all a classroom environment. And so now we know how we should be behaving in each situation. We should be taking notes and not talking while the teacher's talking. But sometimes we have more ambiguous situations, like when you accidentally enter the wrong lecture hall. Now I know this is a weak meme, but it helps me to get my point across. This is a new environment. You have no memory of this place. However, in our minds, we're still able to quickly categorize it as a classroom environment. And we now know that we shouldn't be blaring music while the teacher's talking. Now, what happens if you're not able to categorize situations correctly? Well, miscategorizing situations leads to abnormal behaviors and cognitions. Miscategorizing situations leads to abnormal behaviors and cognitions. Now, anxiety is a maladaptive response to ambiguous situations. Or to put it more frank, you get anxious when you don't really know what's going on. Why? Because you're miscategorizing it as threatening. This ability to detect threats in our environment is a survival mechanism, right? We need to be able to detect danger in order to survive. If there's a snake behind you and you don't feel threatened, you are not going to run away and you run the risk of getting bit. And so we're able to detect danger really, really quickly. But this early threat categorization is exaggerated with social anxiety, right? We're getting anxious for things we really shouldn't be anxious for, like presenting. And so what we're doing is we're taking these 3 situations, the unknown, getting chased by a snake, and presenting, and categorizing them all as dangerous. And now I have yet another question. Why would we categorize presenting as dangerous? Now, I know that grades are super important, and that's definitely a factor that plays into our anxiety. But there's another thing. We need to be able to figure out if there's a possibility that we're going to get excluded from a group. Now, obviously, being in a social group is advantageous. Even early on in the hunting and gathering days, we needed to be part of a social group, or else you run the risk of not eating that night. I mean, it's hard to hunt by yourself. And so we feel we need to be accepted by other people. And in order to make sure we weren't going to be excluded, we've evolved in such a way to be able to detect social cues that predict an unpleasant social interaction. This detection allows for us to change our behaviors in order to increase our chances of social acceptance. So for example, obviously this guy can't tell, but you can all easily tell that these students are not happy with this presentation. And that's because we're so sensitive to these social cues. Now, those with social anxiety disorder may be hypervigilant to these cues and can detect disapproval in faces when there isn't any. So you can see how presenting in front of a large group of people, in front of a large group of many faces, may elicit lots of fear. And so we feel anxious to present because there's a possibility that we can make a fool out of ourselves, and this might lead to social exclusion. And we've categorized presenting as dangerous because exclusion is dangerous. It's something that nobody wants. And it's not a very rational conclusion, but it's what runs through my mind before every presentation. Now, was this whole presentation me just trying to rationalize my fears? Maybe. However, it's important for me to tell myself and you guys that one bad presentation isn't the end of the world, even though it might feel like it is. Thank you.